thanks for coming. Just so you know, this is our 15th year here at doing this memorial service. We started this project probably 18 years ago. If you don't know who I am, my name's Tom Flock. I just was part of the committee that did this, and I couldn't be prouder of doing anything in my life. So I'm going to let the Boy Scouts lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have the firing squad after that. So be prepared for the volley of fire when the firing squad starts shooting, all right? Go ahead.
Shout attention. Shout salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2, bound. Please. Honor guard. Prepare to fire. Fire! Reload! Hey! Fire! Reload! Hey! Fire! Raise head! Arms! Bugler! Sound hat! Honor guard! Order! Arms! Fall up!
Not true, but an awful lot of them. So BFW, thank you very much for your service, for what you do. I know you're going to have a busy day. The reason today I invited the Boy Scouts, just so all of you know, around our county during the winter, there are not very many memorials that have their snow removed. Guess what? Every year for the last 15 years, these guys up in front here, Troop 5, they've been part of this. It's no easy job to keep this shoveled out. If you live in Toma, you know which way the wind comes from? Right over there. You know where all the snow goes? Right in here. Guess who gets to take all that out here? Right up here. So I want to thank Boy Scouts Troop 5 for doing this today. And you guys can turn around and listen to me now if you want. Last evening, if you did see the program, they have just a beautiful Memorial Day program that they do at the memorial in Washington, D.C. What a program, and part of that program was I serving. So a lot of veterans are here today that serve. The stone that we have here, gentlemen, are all the people who died for their country defending freedom. Freedom is not free. Guys like this made freedom free at a cost. You can't believe what it cost these guys. It cost them their life. It cost them their life. Somewhere on the radio I read this week, or I heard on the radio, 76% of the baby boomers, which I'm one of them, think about today, and we remember this. The younger generation doesn't understand what this is all about. And as our generation, we need to teach them this is a day of remembrance for those who have served our country faithfully and all the veterans that have gone before us. These people gave their life for us, for our freedom. Like I say, I can't say enough about freedom does not come free. It comes at a cost. and it didn't make any difference if you were a door gunner or if you were a cook. On whatever service you were in, you had a job and you had to do something. Today is our 250th year that the Army and the Navy and the Marine Corps were founded. I think George Washington's the guy that started all this. The war that we fought on our soil, but that's where it all started. So 250 years for that. Jim Steele, I'm sorry, it's not the Air Force yet. So, just so you know it. So, having said that, the Boy Scouts have another place they have to go to. Like I say, I'm seeing familiar faces from years by. Thank you for coming. God bless all those who are serving our nation right now, the police officers and the firefighters that keep us safe. God bless them, and God bless America. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, guys. All right. Good job.
So we've been out here at the monument in Toma on Memorial Day 2025. The scouts that you just saw a moment ago, these are the scouts that maintain this area. They shovel the snow in the winter and do a great job. So Tom Flock wanted to honor them today. So thanks to the scouts that were down here that were honored a moment ago. Again, they are the ones that shovel out this area when winter comes to Toma. And they do a great job, and Tom wanted to give them recognition, and that's what you saw a moment ago. So again, we take you back to this past Memorial Day here in Toma. Beautiful morning. Temperature is supposed to be 70 degrees today, and we've been down here with the Army tankers in Toma, the Veterans Memorial. Tom Flock does this program every year, does a great job. And this year again, he honored the scouts, the Boy Scouts that maintain, shovel this area out every winter, and they do a great job. And obviously, Tom wanted to give them recognition. So we have more Memorial Day program coming up on the update. So stay with us.
Okay, all right.
They run that way, right?
right as our Memorial Day program continues right here on Lake Toma on this past Memorial Day, and they're going to lay the wreath, which is on the front of this boat right now. You can see the wreath right there. And in a few moments they'll be laying this wreath on Lake Toma, and then we'll have the firing squad and taps coming up after that. So that's what you're going to see next. This past Memorial Day, May 26th, this past Monday, the laying of the wreath on Lake Toma coming up in a moment. There is the laying of the wreath on Lake Toma.
Ready, aim, fire. Present arms.
So you've just been watching the laying of the wreath on Lake Toma this past Monday, Memorial Day, May 26th. And there is the wreath right now on Lake Toma. Very brief program, but a great program that's been going on down here at Lake Toma for many, many years. The laying of the wreath. And there's the wreath, as we said a moment ago. We have more Memorial Day programming coming up. We'll take you next to Oak Grove Cemetery as our Memorial Day programming continues. As we wrap up our Memorial Day programming here on the Community Update this past Monday, May 26th, we're going to wrap it up with the Memorial Day program at the Oak Grove Cemetery in Toma. That's what you'll see next as the update continues.
Good morning. Welcome to the Toma Veterans Association 2025 Memorial Day celebration. My name is Melissa Guthmiller, and I am the current Toma Veterans Association president. To all past and present U.S. service members, thank you for your service. Thank you also to the families, relatives, and friends who have supported veterans in the past, present, and future. Today is the day of remembrance, as we remember and honor brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, families, and friends. Please welcome our invited guests, Mayor Paul Dwyer, Police Chief Eric Pedersen, Fire Chief Tim Adler, and Sheriff Wes Rebels. To begin our program, I would like to introduce Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Virginia Emery, the 88th Readiness Division Deputy Command Chaplain from Fort McCoy.
I invite you to pray with me. Holy God, as we gather at this sacred spot for a sacred purpose, we remember those who have given their lives for this country. For 250 years, America has depended on the military, and for 250 years, the military has depended on men and women from across our cities and countryside, from every race, faith, and background. We have depended on them to serve. We remember and stand grateful today for those who have fallen in battle, making the ultimate sacrifice. We remember today those for whom this is not only a national day of mourning, but a personal one. Those who lost family and friends, and Holy Spirit, I ask that you would send them your comfort and peace. And for all of those of us who returned, and all who hold dear the promise of America, God grant us a renewed sense of purpose that we may honor our fallen and continue to build a more perfect union with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The national anthem will be presented by the Toma High School Band, directed by Alex Knepker. The raising of the flag to full staff was done by Toma American Legion 2nd Vice. The Logan's orders will be read by Lieutenant Colonel Troy Fox, JROTC Senior Army Instructor.
Good morning, everyone. General John A. Logan's General Order Number 11, the Memorial Day Order. The 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who have died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. In this observance, no form of ceremony is prescribed, but posts and comrades will in their own way arrange such fitting services and testimonials of respect as circumstances may permit. We are organized comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose, among other things, of preserving and strengthening those kind of fraternal feelings which have bound together the soldiers, sailors, and Marines who united to suppress the late rebellion. What can aid more to assure this result than cherishing tenderly the memory of our heroic dead, who made their breast a barricade between our country and its foes. Their soldier lives were to reveal, reveille of freedom to a race in chains, and their deaths the tattoo of rebellious tyranny in arms. We should guard their graves with sacred vigilance. All that this consecrated wreath and taste of the nation can add their adornment and security is but a fitting tribute to the memory of her slain defenders. Let no wanton foot tread rudely on such hallowed grounds. Let pleasant paths invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and fond mourners. Let no vandalism or avarice or neglect, no ravages of the time testify to the present and to the coming generation that we have forgotten as a people the cost of free and undivided republic. If other eyes grow dull, other hands slack, and other hearts cold in the solemn trust, ours shall keep it well as long as the light and warmth of life remain to us. Let us then, at the time appointed, gather around their sacred remains and garland the passionless mounds above them with choicest flowers of springtime. Let us raise above the dear old flag they saved from dishonor, his honor. Let us in this solemn presence renew our pledges to aid and assist those whom they have left among us a sacred charge upon our nation's gratitude, the soldiers and sailors, widows, and orphans. It is this purpose of the Commander-in-Chief to inaugurate this observance with the hope that it will be kept up from year to year, while a survivor of war remains to honor their memory of his departed comrades. He earnestly desires the public press to lend its friendly aid in bringing to notice of comrades in all parts of the country in time for simultaneous compliance therein. Hence, the department commanders will use efforts to make this order effective. By order of John A. Logan, Commander-in-Chief.
The Gettysburg Address will be read by Toma American Legion Commander Brandy Cobb.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that the nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Abraham Lincoln, November 19, 1863.
Our guest speaker today is Representative Nancy Vandermeer. Representative Nancy Vandermeer was elected to the Wisconsin State Assembly in 2014 and currently serves as chair of the Assembly Committee on Transportation. A graduate of the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, she has been deeply involved in community service, including roles on the council and boards of Gloria Dei Lutheran Church, Toma Memorial Hospital, the Toma Chamber of Commerce, and the Handy Shop, which supports individuals with disabilities. Representative Vandermeer has also experience as a former franchise automobile dealer, providing her with her first insight into a small business operations in the transportation industry. Together with her husband of 25 years, David Hall, they reside on Dave's family's 5th generation dairy operation, milking over 200 head daily.
Thank you. Well, good morning, and thank you for inviting me to share this very solemn day with you. May is National Military Appreciation Month, as well as a time of reflection to honor and remember those who serve and have served our country through the armed forces. Each Memorial Day, I have 2 distinct childhood memories that come to mind. The first is that of my father, George Vandermeer, who was involved as a pit crew member on one of the teams in the Indy 500 during Memorial Day weekend. My second memory is that of a cemetery, a beautiful, well-designed memorial site. I recall a wonderful pine swing under one of the largest trees in that beautiful cemetery. Each Memorial Day, as a child, my mother, grandmother, and I would come to remember and reflect on 2 very special soldiers, my grandfather and my uncle, who both I never knew personally, but are very close to my heart. The history of military membership in our family actually begins 2 generations prior to my own grandfather's service. It goes back to his grandfather's participation in the Civil War as a Union soldier. Charles Wesley Vermillion served as a member of Yanks Flanks, a well-known Army unit for its time from Illinois. Charles Wesley wanted to serve and apparently served as such an inspiration to his underage younger brother that the 2 brothers embellished the truth about the younger one's age just to get him in the Union Army. Unfortunately, Charles Wesley was captured during battle, sent to the notorious Andersonville prisoner of war camp in Georgia. Notorious Horrendous does not describe the conditions that Union soldiers faced upon their imprisonment at Andersonville. There was a shortage of space, hygiene, food, clean water, and shelter. It was a camp designed to hold 10,000 prisoners, but swelled to over 30,000 captives at any given time. During the course of the war, a total of 45,000 prisoners were held at Andersonville, and nearly 13,000 of them perished due to the cruel treatment at the prison. My great-great-grandfather, Charles Wesley, did survive. He returned to Illinois, married, farmed, and became the father of my great-grandmother, the mother of Wesley Dean Lapel Sr., who may have been so inspired by the fortitude of his own grandfather that he served during World War I in the fields of France. Wesley Dean returned home, married, became a successful businessman during the Great Depression, and had 2 children, my mother and my uncle, Wesley Dean Lapel Jr. As Wesley Jr. became a young man, World War II broke out. Wesley went on to college, was drafted, and served stateside by investigating and reporting subversives on American campuses during the war. However, his time came when he was to become involved in deadly action in the European theater of war. 2 weeks after arriving in France, yes, France, just like his own father did in World War I. But my uncle, unfortunately, was killed by a mortar shell just days before the Battle of the Bulge in Cherbourg, France, in November of 1944. Around my uncle's neck was a hand-knitted scarf that my grandfather had given him to wear during the bitter cold Northern European winter. 2 weeks after the fatal attack, when his body was recovered, that scarf still clung to his neck, a gentle reminder from home. The notification of my uncle's death came during my grandfather's December birthday dinner party when 2 Army officers came to the door of the Lapel home. My grandfather, my uncle's dad, would send packages of treats and delicious food from Chicago's Marshall Field store to his son as he served in France. But after Wesley Dean Jr.'s death, my grandfather still sent those packages because the other soldiers who were unknown to my grandfather would write to express their gratitude for a package from home. A year after my uncle's death, my grandfather passed away from the shock of the loss of his son. In fact, this year marked the 80th anniversary, May 8, 1945, as Victory in Europe Day, when the enemies surrendered. My uncle was buried for 5 years in the Netherlands, and a young Dutch woman cared for his grave until his body was returned to the U.S. for permanent internment. In fact, it has currently remained a tradition for generations of Dutch families to adopt and tend the graves of American soldiers still interred in the Netherlands because of the gratitude of those soldiers' sacrifice in liberating Dutch towns from Nazi occupations. By the time my uncle's body was returned to the U.S., his sister, my mother, had married another Dutchman, George Vandermeer. My family's story has come full circle. My Memorial Day memory of my 2 soldiers, my grandfather and my uncle, who rest together in that beautiful cemetery that I described earlier. However, a number of years ago, my husband and I traveled to France. In Paris, a French flag flew in the Arc de Triomphe, just like the postcard that had showed my uncle had sent 80 years before. If men like him had not served, I can't imagine what Paris, the world, or the United States would be like right now. You know, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of the 3 soldiers in our family, Charles Wesley Vermillion, Wesley Lapel Sr. and Jr. They inspire me in many ways. I admire their courage, patriotism, and dedication in circumstances that I questioned whether I could survive or even tolerate. In the Wisconsin State Assembly, I serve as a member of the Committee on Veterans and Military Affairs. One of my personal missions is to encourage the sharing of the stories of our veterans, especially the experiences of those soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice. My family's story is probably one of thousands, if not millions, like it in our country. I hope you will extend your appreciation to a member of the Armed Forces Services during the remainder of this National Military Appreciation Month and share the stories of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice on this Memorial Day and every day. As it is said, their silent graves speak louder than any words ever could. Remember them. Have a blessed and meaningful Memorial Day. Thank you.
At At this time, the Toma High School Band will present the Armed Forces Medley. Please stand when your branch of service is played. Toma American Legion Second Vice Lori Zimmerman will lay the wreath. The Toma American Legion Post 201 Honor Guard will now conduct the 21-gun salute, followed by Toma High School student Ethan Gold, who will play taps. Please stand if you are able.
In the book of Joshua, the people were instructed to gather 12 stones as they crossed the Jordan River into the Promised Land, and they placed them as a memorial. So when the children and future generations ask, what is the meaning of these stones, the elders would remember and share of a promise fulfilled. As we consider this, every simple headstone you see in a national cemetery, the brass markers you see in this dedicated ground, the red stripe you see on our flag, the blood stripe on the uniform of a Marine, fields of poppies, and the missing man formation, these are all memorials. So that today and in future days we remember and teach future generations of promises kept to answer the nation's call, even up to the ultimate sacrifice. Go in peace, inspired and grateful for those who have given all, that we may live free and build the promise of America. Amen.
Thank you all for attending our service today and taking time out of your day to be here. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, so that concludes our Memorial Day program from last weekend here on the Hagen Sports Network. We kicked things off with a ceremony down at the Veterans Memorial in Tomah. That's the first thing you saw, the program down at the Veterans Memorial. Then you saw the laying of the wreath on Lake Tomah. And the last thing you saw a moment ago was the Memorial Day program out here at the Oak Grove Cemetery. Always very well done. So thank the veteran and give an opportunity. We hope you enjoyed this look back at Memorial Day in Tomah this past Monday here on the Hagen Sports Network.